season, and you just now, everybody else is now witness to it as far as the success that you guys have had.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get
We
started
kind
with
of took
Alabama
that,
Media Day. 45 minutes.
you know, after the Florida State game, of just, we got a lot of ball left and a lot to prove. That's kind of been our mindset all season of job's not finished until, the very last game of the season. And that's, our plan and our mindset going into every game that we're not going to end until January 19th. So.
What is it about Kobe Bryant that inspires you so much? And what is it about him? Not only the talent, but just what he's been able to have success?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Kobe and MJ and Brady, just because of their mentality. I mean, Kobe's, famously not only for basketball, right, but his mentality, the Mamba mentality. As a quarterback, I think it's very important, right, just to have that Mamba mentality of, coming in and not, caring about anything except winning. And, I think that's what the great ones do so well.
When you look at this Indiana team defensively, what are some of the challenges that they present to you all that you're going to have to make sure you stay on your point?
Yeah, one, how disciplined they are. Literally, they, rarely mess up. It's quite impressive. Two, how well they play together. Everybody does their job very, very well, and that's why they're very high on the defensive statistic of the ball. And then three, just how hard they play. Their guys are flying around. Like there's always one or two or three, four guys at the ball, and it's really, really impressive what they do so well. So hats off to them.
Ty, are you more inclined to be back in Alabama in 2026 or move on to the pros?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it much, to be honest with you, just because of the big game coming up. So.
Ty, what were you listening to your headphones coming in? And also, I want to ask about starting fast. Coach Grove said that's got to be an emphasis for you guys. How do you guys do that?
Yeah, so I was listening to Morgan Wallen coming in. This is kind of my go-to. Listen to him all the time. And yeah, Coach Grove says it all the time, right? And Coach DeBoer emphasizes it of just starting fast. Not waiting until the second quarter like we did last week. And it just starts with doing our job. Just everybody does their job, and we communicate well. We'll start fast, and we'll get things going.
Hi, how excited are you playing in
Yeah, I'm just super excited, super blessed. God's put me here and our team, and it's been a dream come true. Thought about this when I was a kid. All the memories, all the the granddaddy of them all, as they say, for this bowl game. So the opportunity to play is a dream come true.
Can you talk about the journey, just being able to get here as a team?
Yeah, it was hard. Not only for my journey, but as a team in general. Didn't start off the year as we wanted to. Everybody, like I've said, counted us out. And just the resiliency this team has showed, my teammates and everything that we've had from adversity, and not just that, but the good ones as well, right? The good wins. It's been fun, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Ty, for the guys that stuck around in 2023 like yourself, is that game of motivation heading into this one to win at the Rose Bowl camp? You guys think about that game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it all the time. Just how we felt in the locker room, how it ended. And just thinking about all the scenarios of the game to where we should have won and should have put it away. So I think back to when we just got back and put in the Rose Bowl game, and we told the guys, we had a team meeting of the guys who remembered it, of making sure that it doesn't happen again, and just having that mindset of doing your job and enjoying the process.
We've heard you're into Legos. What are your favorite Legos that you've built, and how does that help you kind of unwind away from football?
Yeah, so my favorite ones, I had Stark Tower, which it took me about 3 days to do that over spring break, so that one, and then I have The Office. I put The Office in a glass case. Those are my two favorite. And I really enjoy it just because it gets me away from football, and it gives me stuff to do with a structure about it. And not only that, but I can put it up and use it as a decoration or something like that. So I love Legos, honestly. So it gets me away from football and just gets my mind off of things.
What stands out to you when you watch Fernando play quarterback?
Yeah, so I hadn't really watched it, like in depth. I'm sure like Kane and the defensive guys, but I've seen some highlights. One, how tough he is. I've seen some crazy hits that he's taken when he's in the pocket or moving. And two, I remember watching the Penn State game with just how poised he is. He's a big guy, so being able to take all those hits and then, getting hit again and then throwing a game-winning touchdown is pretty impressive. So hats off to him and everything he's done this year.
What do you think of Indiana, this team in general, with their program and the rise of their team?
Yeah, as a coach's son, I understand how hard it is to rebuild a program. But the job that Coach Signetti has done, and the players have come together and played for each other and him has been remarkable. Everybody wants to talk about how they went from I guess a losing record to making the playoffs 2 years in a row. It is very, very impressive and remarkable, honestly. The turnaround they've had, just how disciplined they are, and I know Coach Signetti talks about Coach Saban a lot, so I'm sure the values and principles of the program is very similar to Alabama. So hats off to their coaches and AD and everything they've done, but also the players as well.
What's it like going up against a team like that with all the momentum, all the attention?
Yeah, it's what you want, honestly, right? Like, we talk about, having our backs to the wall, being an underdog, and it's crazy to think that, in 2025 that Alabama is thought about in this way. But, we kind of embrace it as a team. I do especially just because, everybody, like I said, kind of wrote us off and didn't expect us to get here. So, the point of proving people wrong is what we want. So, we're all here for it, and, just nothing to lose and cut it loose.
Sorry, the win against Oklahoma, did that reaffirm the team's resiliency and toughness of this ball club?
Yeah, absolutely. I know the week before the SEC championship, we didn't put our best foot forward. And everybody knew that due to the circumstances, but that's not an excuse. So, we had to, prove people wrong again. And so, all the noise of, just us not being a good team, us not being tough, us, shouldn't be in the playoffs, right? Like, it made us feel some type of way. And then we come out with a win, and then it's the same thing, this week, like being an underdog and, playing against the #1 team, right? Like, you gotta love that. And that's, why you play college football, why you come to the University of Alabama.
Quarterback, I don't know how much you watch him, that does it, just respect to have for him and what he's been able to do this year.
Yeah, I said it earlier. I hadn't watched him in depth at all, but I've seen some highlights of it. Just how tough he is, how big he is, and how poised he is. And then, of course, I know he's like a double major at not only at Cal, but at Indiana. So I'm sure he's super, super smart. Never met him, but a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, ton of respect to him. And everything he's done, and I think I saw something to where his brother plays for Indiana as well, which is I think is really, really cool. I have a little brother as well who wants to play college football, so I won't have the opportunity to play with him. But seeing those guys, family being on the same team is, I think, really cool. So. One, how tough they are, and how disciplined they are. They rarely mess up. Everybody knows what to do, and they do it very, very well. Two, how well they play together. Everybody has their spot, and everybody, knows where to go. And three, how hard they play. There's always multiple guys, running to the ball. And they rarely give up, whether they're guys across the field or anything like that. Like, there's always, multiple guys, trying to get the football, trying to get it out. That's why they're, statistically the, one of the best defenses in the country. So, we got to be on our P's and Q's, got to do our job, and, go have fun. Yeah, I remember that game and just, having opportunities to honestly put it away. We just never did. And then we, had a chance in overtime to win it. We didn't. And just, remember feeling that type of way in the locker room of just, everybody upset and sad, knowing that we had a chance to go and win it. And then, the team that we, win against won the championship. So, it made us feel some type of way. And I'm very grateful for, my time sitting behind Jalen and learning from him and him, being a mentor for me and showing me all different types of stuff and how he prepares and what he does. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for sitting behind him and Bryce. So I thank them